火。
2024 promises to be an exciting year for Chinese spaceflight. There's a lot to look out for, so here's a quick guide on the most interesting stuff. Let's start with the CNSA. For this year, the Chang'e 6 mission is planned to launch sometime in May. The Chang'e 6 was built as a backup copy of the Chang'e 5 lunar sample return mission, which successfully accomplished all objectives in late 2020. Chang'e 6 is also a lunar sample return mission, but it plans to retrieve samples from the far side of the moon instead of the near side. Prior to that, a communication relay satellite known as Triqiao 2 will launch sometime in the first quarter of this year. This satellite will support the Chang'e 6 mission as well as the later Chang'e 7 and Chang'e 8 missions. Besides these two missions, the CNSA will have 4 missions to the Tiangong space station, 2 Tianzhou resupply missions, of which one has already launched as of the recording of this video, and 2 Shenzhou crew rotation missions. Another exciting development is the trial run of an entirely new launch vehicle built by the Shanghai Academy of Spaceflight Technology, a subsidiary of CASC. This new launch vehicle is known as the XLV, which presumably stands for Experimental Launch Vehicle. The rocket doesn't seem to have an official name or any other pertinent information like lift capabilities or launch weight. What we do know is that a maiden launch is planned for June of this year from Wenchang Satellite Launch Center. Now let's move on to commercial space companies. Galactic Energy plans to debut the Pallas 1 sometime in Q3 of this year. The Pallas 1 is planned to be a medium-lift, liquid-fueled reusable rocket with the capacity to send 5 tons to low Earth orbit or 3 tons to 700-kilometer Sun-stable orbit. While the first flight is planned for this year, Galactic Energy only intends to demonstrate reusability of the first stage next year. Outside of that, there will likely be more launches of the small lift Series 1 throughout the year. The award for the most ambitious 2024 roadmap among Chinese space companies goes to Space Pioneer, which launched the Tianlong-2 small-lift liquid-fueled rocket in April of last year. According to this leaked photo from a Space Pioneer presentation, they plan to debut the Tianlong-3 in June of this year. The Tianlong-3 will be a medium-lift liquid-fueled launch vehicle capable of launching 17 tons to low Earth orbit and 14 tons to 500-kilometer Sun-stable orbit. Like the Pallas 1, the Tianlong-3 is also planned to have a reusable first stage. According to the leaked photo, further launches of the Tianlong-3 are also planned for September and November. If successful, the Tianlong-3 would be the heaviest lift rocket ever launched by a Chinese commercial space company. To launch it another 2 times in the same year it debuted would also be very impressive. Best of luck to Space Pioneer. If you follow Chinese aerospace, then you might recognize the name Deep Blue Aerospace from its vertical takeoff and vertical launch tests in 2021 and 2022. For 2024, the company wants to do it for real with its Nebula 1 rocket. The Nebula 1 is planned to be a small to medium lift rocket with a reusable first stage. The method of recovery is illustrated on Deep Blue Aerospace's website with a diagram showing the first stage launching at what appears to be a suborbital trajectory before changing orientation and landing at a recovery platform downrange. It is not entirely clear how much mass the rocket is designed to lift. The website says 2 tons to low Earth orbit, but other sources have said 1 ton. It seems like reusability is the name of the game for 2024, and this little-known rocket startup has a unique way of doing it. Unlike other rocket companies, Space Epoch doesn't envision landing its rocket back at the launch pad or downrange at a recovery pad, but rather directly into the ocean. Space Epoch is developing their XZY-1 rocket to have stainless steel construction, 2 stages, a recoverable first stage, and the capacity to launch 6.5 tons to 1100-kilometer Sun-stable orbit. The splashdown strategy allows for a number of cost-saving measures. Landing in the water eliminates the need for a dedicated landing platform, and also the need for precise navigation. The ocean is a big place, and it's okay if the rocket is off by a couple dozen meters. In addition, landing in water might be more forgiving in terms of landing angle and speed, among other factors. Space Epoch plans to do a launch and splashdown test of the XZY-1 sometime later this year. Space recently announced that they have started production of their Kinetica 2 launch vehicle. The Kinetica 2 is a medium-lift rocket capable of taking 12 tons to low Earth orbit or 7.8 tons to Sun-stable orbit. Unlike the other designs we've seen thus far, the Kinetica 2 is unique with its two side boosters attached to the first stage. Space is preparing for a variety of ground-based tests in April of this year with a maiden flight sometime next year. Fun fact, Space is the only Chinese launch provider with an active Twitter account. Be sure to give them a follow, link is in the description of this video. One of the most challenging parts of making this video is that in the middle of doing research, recording, and editing, new developments kept popping up. This video is by no means comprehensive, and as we all know, space is hard, so many of the exciting prospects outlined here will likely not even occur this year, if at all. We will only know for certain when the clock strikes 11:59, December 31st, 2024. But until then, we're wishing for a successful year for Chinese aerospace and aerospace around the world. Good luck. Subscribe for more Chinese space industry content.